Hi, everybody. It's Mark Hanno with Wisdom Gaming. As you know, unscripted, unapologetic, uncensored, and psychologically immune from social media scoring. I'm Grecian Formula. This video is about my first foray into an action report, ongoing action report, into, yes, this. Oh, it's reversed. Let me show it to you this way. Axis Empires Ultimate Edition, Totaler Krieg. So, a little bit of background. I already presented this in my other intro video to my 2024 video preview, so this might be a little repetitive. I'll try to keep it brief. So, originally, I was quite involved with this game. I think I played it 15, 20 times all the way through, or not always all the way through. Sometimes we'd quit because it was getting out of hand. Took us a long time to even get through an entire year, not an entire year, an entire war into Totaler Krieg, simply because things can go awry so easily. Uh, there's already a number of guys out there, uh, probably with better production values than me, who are going to go through the introductory scenarios, show you how to play those, show the optimal play, and that's great. Go to them if you're trying to learn the game. This isn't for people who are learning the game. This video is going to assume that you know some good stuff about this, not everything. Perhaps you won't know quite yet about Schiffskrieg. I'll be playing Schiffskrieg in this. I will not be playing Dice of Decision. Here it is in full review, reverse. Okay. I kind of love the retro art they did for this, I have to say. Look at this cover here. Isn't that nice? I kind of like this strange propagandistic sort of neo-Gothic look they've done here. I'm pretty impressed with Decision Games on this. One of the reasons I didn't go for the pre-order, well, there's a couple of reasons I didn't do the pre-order. First of all, I was pretty miffed and have barely gotten over it that it took them 12 years to get this done. There's no reason it should have taken that long, as far as I can tell. Um, the incremental improvement in the game to wait an extra 8 years to get it done isn't justified. Um, on top of that, they didn't make this an add-on, which they could have done. They didn't need to do a full re-release, but in the greed of Decision Games, to the detriment of those of us who bought the original two games, and I've got them out there sitting useless in my garage, and now they're worthless because I can't resell them. They won't come with an upgrade kit. See, they didn't want to just sell an upgrade kit. They wanted to make us buy everything, even though 75% of the components are virtually the same. All right, so now that I've had that rant, that explains one of the reasons why I didn't do the pre-order. The second reason is, I have a bad taste in my mouth with Decision Games affecting the work of other designers by taking games that they've bought, regurgitating them through some gullet of a rehash that doesn't do a complete job, um, and then issuing the game out, disappointing everybody, and then we're all left hanging because they still own the rights to the game. Okay. So I wasn't going to pre-order this from Decision Games, but there was a lot of people who did, and kudos to them. I'm glad that they did. I'm personally glad that I paid full price for this. I'm glad that I spent every last penny because now nobody's going to tell me that I've been plotting with the game designer or the publisher to do excellent reviews for their stuff. It's going to be straightforward and on the mark, and I'm not going to pull any punches, and I'm going to give credit where credit's due on this. All right, I've already mentioned to you the cover art is excellent. Really happy with it. I'm happy with the way they've done it. Sort of happy with the rule books. I think It could have been better if they just did them all in one big uh, three-ring binder or spiral binder. Uh, they can't complain too much. I find the color scheme a bit weird in here. I don't like the color scheme 100% of the way they've done the rules, but it's serviceable. It's all matte finish stuff. Works well in the glare of the studio lights here, right? So what can I complain about? Here's one of the maps here. If you own the game, you'll see this. An example of the Pacific map. Stuff going on there. Uh, really nice. Good stuff. They have the Dice of Decision module. They came up with some overlays for both sets of maps. So in case you change the world order in your Dice of Decision game, and the map has to adjust as it would have had to. They've thought that out pretty well, so I can just pull one of these at random. Here's overlay 8 for Totaler Krieg. And this is showing, oh, okay, something happens in Turkey here. So Turkish Armenia is created. Russian, so it looks like the city-state, that's a little ancient, isn't it? The country of Armenia is created, and this looks like they can divide it up between the two. Turkish Armenia and Russian Armenia can be split up. So that's in the Dice of Decision and probably the new cards for that. All right, good. I wouldn't say there's usually a lot of action in that part of the world, but I've played some games where there is action in that part of the world, so very cool. All right, so as I said, I'm going to be doing a replay. What I've done is I brought it up to the beginning of Limited War before I started this replay. That's because the first years from 37 to 39, or even up to 40, in this case it went into 1940, the map is just being sort of created as a dynamic between the three powers: Western powers, Axis powers, Soviet powers. Different influences are being arranged. The Spanish Civil War is being fought out. In this case, the Spanish Civil War did end relatively early in favor of the Axis, so that worked out well for them. Uh, Diplomatically, it's gone a little bit towards the Allied powers, more so for the Western and Soviets having more influence markers in their favor. I've deliberately picked the Lithuanian option for Germany. In the Lithuanian option, apparently, this is a hotbed of marine school development, according to Thomas Prowl. Probably the one gripe I have about this is when he threw this in at the last minute. He claims I'm being overreactionary to it. I claim he didn't need to do it. Well, he's the developer. He gets to do it if he wants to. But I'm going to play it out, so why not? All right, so now I have a German Marine sitting in there, and I'm going to be going west, and I'm going to be going after England, and I'm going to go after Gibraltar and Malta, and everything I can with that Marine unit, and just see exactly what can be pulled off. Now, speaking of Dice of Decision, I really wish this game had come with what I would have called a mini Dice of Decision, and that is, yeah, it's fun to play the 37 to 39, but it does take some time, and usually the results are slightly variable. But there could have just as well been a set of tables that created the conditions going up to the beginning of Limited War. Uh, I would have liked to see that. Uh, it's actually something probably I could create. A lot of people are going to have fun starting it from 37 anyway. After you've done this about 15 or 20 times, though, you're sort of like, okay, let's get to the war. You get that mentality. Let's get this over with. Let's get the Spanish Civil War over with. Let's get this, uh, these really repetitive, they are repetitive if you play the game a lot, die rolls for influences and things like that in the Balkans or whatever. All right. So, uh, that's something I could develop on my own. But in this case, I'm not going to cover 3 years of this kind of miscellaneous card play to get us to the war. I've brought us to 1940 in this game. That's where this particular episode starts. So, without a further ado, as the first episode is a little bit long, I do some more explanations of things, and it's something I want to curtail to a 30-minute video in the future if possible. All right, enough said. Thanks for watching up to this point. Hope you enjoy it. Cheers.
Okay, hi everybody. So here's my little take on Axis Empires Ultimate Edition. I'm going to show you the map. Here's the rule books being used. Core rules, Totaler Krieg exclusive rules, and the Schiffskrieg module rules. Very interesting. So you can see over here, the map design is quite nice. I like the map. I'm not so sure how different it is from the other Totaler Krieg map. I think it's a little darker in the shading here. As we go in, you can see that the overall look and feel of the game is nice. I'll do a quick pan here. You can see there's the posture display charts. Those actually have to come off because limited war is now in effect. And this has to be moved down. I've got to draw some Fortunes of War cards over here for each side. Where are they? Check it out. Yeah. You put these in front of the camera. We have all these Fortunes of War cards. Since limited war has begun, we can pick these. I'm going to shuffle them up a bit. And then I'm going to use my 30-sided die, which is what I use for these kinds of things. Here they're all shuffled now. So I roll a 30-sided die and count from the top. Here we go, 30-sided die. What did I roll? It was a 21, then it rolled over to a 20. So the 21st card is the Axis card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10. There's the first 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, and 10. 10, 20. As you can see that. And this is the Axis card. It's a Partisans and Quislings card. I'm not really sure if this is a very good card. Anyway, then we'll roll again for the Western Allies. Their roll is a 10. So this is the 10th card. Western Allies get caught at close range. This is an air and naval combat one. So very cool. And that's actually for the Germans and for all of the Allies. You draw those Fortunes of War card when there's a shift in the war status. So there you go, my first recorded gameplay. Right, so here's the other cards over here. You can see them. There's the ship building pile of stuff. See, the Russians are a little bit out of order here. There's my friendly candle. These are here ships that got sunk when they were sent during Pacific Limited War. Apparently the rules allow you to send French ships to Pacific Limited War when it goes into the Western Allied side of things. So you roll, and some ships will never come back. These are ones that were sunk playing the Japanese at the Limited War stage. All right, so that's kind of an overview. Get a close-up of the situation. What started this whole thing was the Germans wanted Lithuania so they could get this Marine unit here. Now, this Marine unit is quite interesting because it can attack across all C hexsides. You'll see there's one right here. So, for example, I can attack across this, get a combat shift, and the land units over here will negate the fact they're attacking across the strait. So I think I can get an extra combat shift for something goofy like that. They can also land there. From Calais, they could move to Dover. Of course, they've got to conquer France first before they do that. But they had a combat shift for the invasions. So I think they could be quite useful. We'll see. Right now, Poland, I think you can notice, is pro-Soviet. The Baltic states have been split in half. Lithuania belongs to the Germans here, and Baltic states, the other half, belongs to the Russians. So the Western Allies are getting better political results. The Italians are still floating at neutral. Yugoslavia has got a Western influence marker, and if you can see it, so does Turkey. And then the Soviets have one on Poland. So the only friendly country for the Germans right now is Hungary. But it looks very good for getting Italy into the war. We'll start with Operation Wasserbrung, or whatever it's called, will be used to declare war on the Western Allies, take out Belgium, Holland. It can't be done in the spring. So the whole summer campaign will be, that's right. The whole summer campaign will be, because we got to do a mobilization in March, April. That's why it's actually not war yet. But that card that's going to flip over, the German mobilization card on this side, after this major mobilization in the spring, the next card is another final German mobilization that brings them into the war. Okay? So, should be interesting here. I think I can't remember if I've completed all of January, February yet, so I'll have to make sure I did that right. Yep, we'll see what happens. So that's the game so far in a nutshell. So it looks very good. I'm really happy with it. Better be. Paid enough for it. Okay, thanks very much. I'm going to stop the tape. Okay, so here's the overall situation. I've played it through 37, 38, 39, and now we're in 1940. And the war has not started yet, but it's about to, because when the Germans flip over their next card, it's going to be this card, additional mobilization. With additional mobilization, one of the effects that's triggered is limited war. Okay, so that's going to happen. And at which point, the Germans will have to decide, do they want to go for case yellow? Or do they want to go for something else? Like a demand card, like Operation Wasserbrung or something like that. If we take a look at this situation here, you can see they're loaded for bear on the French front. The Belgium-Holland is Western aligned. So you can see that we have Italy not in the war. France is here. Over here, Poland is Western allied. So is Yugoslavia. And so is Turkey right here. So there's a lot facing the Germans on the diplomatic front. So let's take a look at what the Germans are going to do after they mobilize. Okay, I've pulled out the cards here that the Germans can take. And I do believe that they should probably take case yellow, because the French earlier in the game did not pick the Maginot Line option. They picked the flexible deployment option, where they get armored units and they have a interceptor. At the moment, Germany only has one air unit in the game. They might have three, though, if they could take case yellow. They will get, in the force pool, the Scratch Convoy, as well as an Air Force and 2 LBAs. They'll be missing out on Operation Weserbrunn, which would probably allow them to take Norway up here. But we might need Operation Weserbrunn for somebody else. So we also have, we have to consider that. So I think that will be the card that will play. So let's activate the additional mobilization. So what's going to happen is pre-war is in effect when it was picked. Yes, one axis mobilization per turn per year. I do have a marker in the box, and might even get an armored step. But nothing happens during the option cards segment except for removing card 6B and limited war being in effect. So, checking the sequence of play, naval construction segment occurs after the option card segment. So this means that there's no replacement segment. Limited war is going to be in effect, so there won't be any more German roles for naval units. That's all. That's going to be done. Okay, so let me take care of this additional mobilization. Okay, so we've enacted the additional mobilization. Limited war is now in effect. However, the policies are not ended. If we swing our thing over here, you'll see a bunch of policies on the map up here. Guarantees is still in effect. We're sort of in the Schiffskrieg period of the war now, where Germany does not attack. They won't be attacking yet. You're going to want to see what the outcome of this stuff is in the delay box. Just to show you quickly, there's a bunch of units from each faction going into the delay box. And there's the subcritical, the sub-fleets coming in, minor productions coming in. I don't have any miners yet, and an Air Force. So we're going to want to see what happens here as we move forward. So there's really not going to be much going on. We do pick up this stuff from the delay box, and that's a bunch of things that the Germans will be able to build in their movement phase. I usually combine this stuff all together just to save time. So what I'm going to do is manufacture my 864 with these units. Sorry, I actually took off the... Might want to keep that headquarters unit. These here, these faster moving guys. Let's put one here and one here in that area. Okay, Those are very useful for the Germans to build up. Okay, they didn't get their other 864. It's up here in the delay box, not coming until June. Same is true for their other HQ. So that's a bit of a limitation. But as I said before, there is no Maginot Line. So the Germans will be able to tack and crunch right through. There is a fortification in Metz, though. Not as nice as the Maginot Line, but still pretty good. So should be an interesting fight coming up in the summer, but for now there's not going to be any activities here. This convoy you see up here is in the North Sea for the Germans because they might need that if they want to take an operation against Norway coming up. Okay. However, that's unlikely. They're going to be declaring war on Belgium, Holland when they have the chance. As it's a neutral, it cannot be entered by the Western Allies. But now the Western Allies, due to the fact that limited war is in play, there's going to be able to move some. The BEF will be able to move over here, and so on. So we'll see how many British units we want to move into the area. Okay, that's the end of the German turn effectively, except we do have the conditional events where they get 2 steps because they have a ceded land, and then they also might get an armored step, and they roll low enough to get an armored step, so I'll put those on the map. Okay, so for the Western Allies, these are the German cards here. All right, the Western Allies, they had a Balkan League last time. That's where they got Yugoslavia on their side. And now it's going to be British mobilization, as they need to start getting their air forces in themselves. So, the British will mobilize. They bring in a 342, an Air Force, and some LBAs into the delay box. So we'll get those out. They also pick up an armored step and an infantry step. France will also get a step due to the fact that they have their war economy in play. Okay, note that there's still possibility for the Western Allies to roll for ships because there's still a pack. The British chance of rolling a ship is a 1 or a 2, and the French can get one on a 1, and they both failed. This was, oh, that was a Soviet die, but I rolled it. Okay. Usually I roll this yellow die for the British. I know, it's silly, but what the hell. Makes for a little color commentating, so to speak. So they didn't get that. The French brought in their step over here in Paris and moved it here. The British transported over the BEF. They'll combine next turn. Thought about bringing in another thing here. Actually, I do need to bring in my British steps and apply Pacific commitment. Right now, what's happened is in Pacific commitment, the surface fleet has been committed. It'd be nice to get that back. So if we look at Rule 19.30, okay, so you can see what I'm talking about here, the Pacific commitment track. There's that and some ships that have been sent. So if we look at Rule 19.30, handy lookup rule dialog here. Okay, Pacific commitment in TK. If it's no war, it is war though. I roll a 1 to 3. I have to put it in the holding box. A 4 or 6, I can pull it back and bring some ships back. I rolled a 1. Ha. So that's not going to do it. They're still stuck in the Pacific. And that's pretty dangerous for Britain. Pretty dangerous indeed. They're going to need to fend off a possible invasion here, because that's what the Germans look like they're headed to do. We'll have to see how that's going to happen without a fleet in play. I decided to go for Pacific Commitment and allow it to happen. I could have withdrawn Commonwealth card 23, but didn't do it. So, we'll see what happens here. French better fight hard. They'd better fight hard. Okay, let me get my armor and infantry step. And since I know I did not successfully bring the fleet back, I think I'll keep these at home. I'll flip this over to a 2-3-3 so I have some defense on the beaches when the Germans get around to it. Okay? So, not too happy about that fleet not making it back. Okay, so that's it for the Brits. Let's go on to the Russians. The Russians are over here. Let's bring their cards over so we can see them under the camera. Can you see that? I'm trying to mess around. It'd be nice to have a better camera. It's okay to use the... I mean, I have a really nice phone for this video, but... Okay, it would be nice. So the Russians just played Nazi-Soviet Pact just to get the conditional events last time. Pretty much useless. Okay, now I think they have a mobilization card as well. Russian mobilization. Option card segment. So they had continuing rearmament last year, so this is their last mobilization. Remove card 4D, wartime mobilization. Okay, so we need to sort through these cards. There it is. Remove it. If limited war in effect in Russia's postures were Palo, it's not. You may change to war. Well, I can't. I'm packed. Apply Pacific Commitment. I don't have any war, and I don't have anything in the delay box, so there's no point in doing that. And then the Russians get 4 units in their delay box and 3 steps. Okay? Oh, just so you know, for the British, next time I pick the dial plan, since they might need to counterattack, plus they get a bunch of stuff that they really need on this card. So it's a really good, important card to play if you can play it. What will the Russians do? Well, that's a good question. It's their first limited war chance. Zhukov takes command will be needed, but it's a little premature to play that. Could play it, though. Peace offer card is also necessary for mobilizations later. It's a little early for this. Summer of 1940. I don't know what they did historically. Winter 40, spring 41, summer 41, summer 41, winter. Turkish frontier was never demanded. Bessarabia was in the autumn. Further demands. They might have played something like, might have been the tail end of the Spanish Civil War. Limited war production and Russian surrender. So there's not a lot of choices. We've got pre-war production, which is always good, or limited war production, which I could do. Let's see. Tough to decide. Demand Finnish frontier. Demand Turkish frontier. I need to get these. I didn't want to demand the Polish frontier. That was another option. I don't want to do that because I might be able to get them as an ally. Could go for diplomacy. Maybe I can get some kind of allies in. For the summer. Yeah, why not? Why not? It's probably our last chance to try it. Okay, so the Russians will do that. As far as their shipbuilding is during European pre-war, limited war if I'm a pack. So if I can get a 1, let's roll the 1. Let's roll 1 die for a 1. It's a 4. So no ship for you. No ship for you. Okay, let's take care of this and get the Russians all set up. And what will be left is the delays. Put a bunch of dice in the delay box to get rid of that. All right. All right, welcome everybody. Coming back down now to the April-May turn. In 1940, we've done additional mobilization for the Germans. Limited war has begun. We did a variety of rolls on the delay box, and the Germans came out smelling like a rose, more or less. The British air has been put way out to here. The extra armor has as well. Subfleets coming in. We still have the Pacific War going on, so we have a number of ships. These U.S. ships are not in the war yet, but we had to send a bunch of ships over there to the Pacific at the moment. So that's not going to end until total war, probably. So let's just finish up the turn, and I can put this video up. So we're back into this. So we go through the card. Nothing on the card at this point. The seasonal turn's over. So we just simply want to do the building of units. Let's see what we've got over here. I have a 663 that we want to put on. So I think there's 3. Yeah, there's 3 core here. The Germans will put a 663 here. And they want to put just one thing that, yeah, well, they're probably okay. I don't think it's mud, so nobody's going to be attacking. There's no possibility, realistically, of the Allies doing an invasion of Bremen. However, it wouldn't hurt to reinforce 1, 2, 3, 4, and then in the reserve movement phase, they can put a 2, 2, 4 there. Keep that in Austria so they can go into Italy if they need to. They've got their garrison over here in East Prussia. Not sure you can see that. I think you can. I've got this on a pretty high and wide zoom. Okay, then that's that. So now we have the additional mobilization. Conditional event segment, so they get 2 infantry steps, and they might get an armored step. They have to roll for that. Let's see, they need a 1, 2, or 3, I think. 5 won't do it. So they get 2 of these back, and we'll put them probably good places. I gotta put them on a city hex. I can put them in Frankfurt. Frankfurt will take them. Haven't quite figured out the best stacking methodology for these airplanes yet. We're going to be figuring that out soon when we start having some air battles, and that'll be starting next turn in May, June. Okay, that's pretty much it for the Germans then. Nothing else they really need to do. You got to keep in mind that these have a range of 9 wherever they're located. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This guy's way back here. I got some more over here in Hamburg. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yeah, if they can get to Paris, that's far enough. This guy here, 2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah, so I can get all of my air units where they need to be. French air units are about as good as they can get. We have this one British air. They're just not quite ready for this war yet. All right, but they have stuff coming in. Okay, what will be happening next turn, as we'll go over, is that since the Germans will be attacking the stuff over here, if you can see it in the finest hour box, Paris threatened box, those will be getting released as well. Okay, so let's see what happens to that. The other thing we need to start thinking about is right now the Germans have a U-boat sitting in their force pool. I'll have to start reading up on the rules on Schiffskrieg. These don't actually, for some reason, I guess they don't stack with the other fleets, but they get put on the board at some point. So we're gonna look into that, see what happens with that before the next turn starts. Okay. So Western Allies now, we have British mobilization. And British mobilization, everything on the card has been accomplished, so it's just down to operational stuff. So they're going to form the BEF, backstop in Calais. They will not change this. I think what they'll do is they actually want to make sure they can create their complete army. And for Western Allied armies, you have 2 infantry steps and 1 armored step for an HQ, and a mech army, 2 infantry steps there. Okay, so this will be done. There should be a holding box for the Anglo-Allied army. There is a holding box for that. So that reserve unit, wherever it is, I need to find it. What did I do with it? Hold on. I hate it when I do this. Okay, now I found it. It was on the force pull card. It goes into the holding box for the Western Allied, Anglo-Allied army. This is now beholden to the BEF army. It's a 2-step army. There it is. AA, Anglo-Allied army. Okay. What else can the French do? They probably better start combining some stuff here. What do they want to do? They probably move this over here and move that up to here. 5 steps here. 7. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, including the HQ. They will be a bit vulnerable through the Ardennes here. I'm not so sure. There's only 1 hex they can attack from. But if I jolt up that attack stack here, then there's that. I don't think I want to send any more British troops down here. When we set up the Belgians, it's always a good idea to set up in the first hex so that they can't easily attack Brussels the second time. Trying to remember all the tricks of the trade. When you play this game a lot, there's certain setup things that you need to do to prevent the Germans from doing certain things. Oh yes, I think that was one of the things the Germans need to do. They need to reduce this by 1, bring a step back out, and put bring a step back out here and put an armored unit here. I think that can make a difference in the attack on Brussels. So we'll do that. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too happy with that setup. But once the Germans get into this hex, they only have certain ways they can go. Okay. So we'll analyze their attack more next turn. In the meantime, over here in Marseille, just keep, what I'll do is I'll put that in Lyon and put that on the border of Italy here. So we don't want to lose Marseille to an Italian sneak attack. Even though it doesn't look like they're going to enter the war in time. You never know. Okay, so I think everything is fine for the British and the Western Allies now. French fleet is here. Scapa Flow for the main two. There's 3 British fleets here. Scapa Flow here, and there's one down here on reserve, as the French fleet is in reserve in Marseille. So plenty of fleets, probably not enough air. Okay, the German advantage is going to be in air and U-boats. Should be entertaining to see what happens next. Okay. Finally now, we're going to go to the Russian card. And the Russians have gone through all of the stuff on their mobilization card. They have nothing fancy they can do. So they're going to be able to, let's see. Oh, it looks like I've got my Leningrad fort. So you can put a 2-step fort for 1 step of infantry. At least that was the rule before. I better check that. So we need to make sure we have enough stuff to build with. Looks like the Russians are pretty well set up. They might have to, might be a Baltic garrison requirement that they need to meet. I need to make sure that that's taken care of here. Maybe check on that real quick. Right, so the border defense check requirement is the check of each ceded land marker. Here we have the Northern Baltics ceded marker for the Russians. So they have to have every border. I mean, this is checked by the Germans, but we can do it now. So the Germans didn't check it yet, but so nothing illegal has been done. But basically, all of these hexes need to have Russian units in them, meaning Riga should have a unit. Let's spread these out here a little bit more. I'm going to flip these back, keep the armor safe. Okay. These ordered areas haven't been seeded yet. Okay, so, but I think I've got the Finnish border coming up. Is that what I picked for the Russians? Molotov. No, I picked one more turn of diplomacy, so I don't have to worry about getting ready for the Finnish war. I'm going to need some stuff up there, so might as well get it going. Keep that guy there. Let's get these guys on the way up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. I forget if I have to have every one of them checked or not. Move these guys here. These guys will also move up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, up to Leningrad there. Okay. Along the rail lines, during the organizational movement and reserve movement phases, they can go that far in friendly territory. Let's move the Dnipropetrovsk garrison over to Kiev. Odessa's worth holding. I'm not so sure this hex is worth it. some reason I remember this is an important area to keep an eye on. Might be more important to keep an eye on the railroad hex. We'll do that. Okay. That looks okay. Russians, when they start spreading out, the Russians look like they have a lot of stuff, and then that doesn't look like they have enough stuff at all after they move around. Okay, so that's the end of the Russian mobilization. Nothing in the delay box. So we then move to the next turn, and this is when things will get exciting. We get all of this stuff here out of the delay box. Look at all of this. Force H. British finally get another air unit. These two guys go to the force pool to be reconstructed. I got a CV fleet now, which can help out quite a bit. The Germans have got another air unit now. That gives them 3. God, that's a lot. Okay. And another air unit. Put it on Bremen. And another 443 in the force pool. The Russians finally get an HQ, so they need to set up so they can organize that as well. Okay. Bringing us to the most critical turn of the game. I should have got those guys in before. Okay. Yeah, now I'm way over here, actually. Okay. So now... Okay, so what does that mean? Actually, this goes in there. Okay, that goes there. This goes in the strategic warfare box. Right here. Need to glue them down. As you can see, what's happened is that sometimes this gets moved a little bit. All right. Glue down the war production marker there. Okay, we got behind a little bit on our delay boxes there. Okay, so now everything's up to date, ready to start the game. Okay, so we've got, where are the troop convoys? We've got one in the North Atlantic. We got these in the North Atlantic. We got one. Where's the other British convoy? Yeah, there and there. The French convoy is here. Those probably aren't supposed to stay in those boxes, but that's okay. We'll start playing more meticulously as time goes on here. Starting with the war itself, we'll have to be a little more nimble to make sure we're not messing up with any rules here that can affect the game. All right. So that's it. They're ready as they're going to be. And that's how it is. Yeah, French line's a little weak. However, they do have an interceptor, which they normally don't have. So we've got a CV fleet and an interceptor here. The Germans have a lot more support. Should be able to crack through. They have 3 turns to get to Paris or take 3 cities. Ideally, they want to take Paris and have a regular Maginot, playing with the optional reverse Maginot rules. So that could make it interesting. We're not sure how that's going to work yet. Okay. There we go. So, if I think about it, I think for the reverse Maginot, this all becomes Vichy France, so I don't think we want the reverse Maginot with the Germans. We want to go for the Paris victory. in 3 turns. I think they've got enough to do it. All right. So there we go. We are all set for summer of 1940, the year of destiny.